Okay. So we will continue. Okay. So as I was saying, I work in multiphase physics problems, CFD modeling of multiphase physics problems for applications such as manufacturing related application as well as energy and heat transfer, such as boiling heat transfer. Okay. So how will we go for this course in this online mode? BTech students who have taken the courses last year with me, they already know. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to go through handwritten notes, which I am going to supply to you. So you don't have to write anything. Okay. So I will write notes and scan them and send them to you, and we'll together go through these notes during the class, and I will explain the different topics. And in between, if something needs to be shown using slides, that also I will do, and I will share the slides with you. So your main task is focus on the material. You don't have to write anything because anyway you will get the material, and try to understand and ask me questions if you don't understand anything, so that there is a good discussion from which everyone can benefit. Okay. So I will just start, and so for BTech dual degree students, fourth year students, okay. So many of you have taken the CFD elective with me, right? Many of you have taken the CFD elective with me in third year. So for all of you, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, the course curriculum for this is almost similar. Almost similar means it is 95% similar, more than 95% similar. Okay. So it will be like just a revision for you. Okay. It's not too different. The only difference is that this is a 4 credit course instead of a 3 credit course. And so 3 credits for lecture and 1 credit for tutorial. So we will solve some problems or do some basic programming in the tutorial classes. Just a second. So some message is coming up. No, no. Suman, just a
Yes,
second.
sir.
You have sent a message right now that they are.
Yes, sir. They are holding three boys, Gulshan Nilesh and Gaurav Srivastav. They already clicked the link which you sent in mail, but the request is not accepted. They are saying
Ask them to send again. I am trying to see. I should have accepted all the requests.
Nilesh, Gaurav, and
I cannot search manually. It will take too much time. Okay, I am just checking. Tom Harichandran. Okay, just a second. Okay, let us take a few minutes to do these things. Any first class. Where is the request? Ah, okay, okay. They are already added. Tell me their names again.
Sir, Nilesh, Gaurav, and Gulshan. Nilesh.
Nilesh Kumar. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Then Gaurav.
Gaurav Srivastava.
Gaurav Srivastava. Yes. And
Yes, sir. And Gulshan something, Gulshan Kumar.
Gulshan, let me check. From the, yes, Gulshan Kumar.
Yes, 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 yes.
Now they are added. Ask them to join the
Okay.
meeting.
Thanks, sir.
Hmm. Okay. So I was saying for dual degree students who already have taken the CFD course with me, unfortunately the material is 95% common. Only difference is that this is a 4 credit course and out of which 1 credit is for tutorial. So we will be solving some or you will be solving some, doing some programming. Okay. So I am going to share my desktop with you and we'll start the course. Please let me know in between if sometimes the voice goes off because of poor internet connection or if volume is low or something like that. Okay. And I will share these notes with you so you don't have to take the notes. You just focus on them. Okay. Today anyway is just an introduction. So actual course will start from the next class. I hope you can see the screen. Can someone come?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Activity something has come again. Why still people are asking to join? Do you know whether he is also first year fellow? Madheppa Pujari? Anybody knows?
Yes, sir.
Idea, huh?
Madhyapa Pujari.
Let me check. Just a minute. Okay. So as I was saying, so course name is Computational Methods in Thermal and Fluid Engineering. So basically this is a CFD course, okay, Computational Fluid Dynamics. But this is a more appropriate name because when we say CFD or Computational Fluid Dynamics, it involves both fluid flow as well as thermal problems. Okay, so it involves both fluid flow and thermal problems, and how to solve this any fluid flow or thermal problem using numerical techniques. So there are different methods, and the entire area is known as computational fluid dynamics, or as we can say in a better way, computational methods for thermal and fluids. Okay. Course code is ME6L102 and it's a 310 course. So for new joinees, this means that 3 lecture hours per week and 1 hour of tutorial or practice or problem solving. Okay. So in CFD, there are not much numerical problems or not much problems which can be solved using pen and paper. So you have to do some programming because that is the most important component of CFD. So without doing any programming, you cannot understand or learn CFD. You will just go through the motions of CFD, but you will not gain any practical experience. Okay. So as I said, my name is Anirban Bhattacharya. This is my email ID. If any issue is there, you can send me an email. And if you don't get a reply, you can send me a reminder in case I am busy. Okay. So let us for today's class, we'll just go through the topics. I think this is a 2-hour class today. So we have 2 2-hour classes today, and I think on Tuesday morning 9 o'clock. Okay. So I will just go through the topics today and some of the important things related to the course we will discuss, and then I will start with a brief introduction of what is CFD and why is it important. And from the next class, we will dive deeper into the course material. So by the way, this where is the meeting group? So this Tuesday morning class 9 to 11. Can we shift it so all of you are at home or anyone is staying here in the campus? BTech students, dual degree students, everyone is at home?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
MTech students, I think all of you are at home anyway, right? Means MTech first year students. You have joined
Yes.
from home, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
How was your registration done? Online, everything?
Online.
Yes, sir. All online
Yes,
mode,
sir.
sir.
Okay, good. So this Tuesday morning 9 to 11 class, can we shift it to evening someday? Say evening from 5 or from 6 on the same day or any other day? Is it possible? Tuesday 6 to 8, who has problem?
No problem, sir.
No problem, right?
No problems.
Okay. So our class will be on Tuesdays evening 6 to 8 and on Friday morning 11 to 1. Okay, this is our class timings. And after discussing the topics, I will come into specifics like how we want to go about this course. So it's also up to you to decide. So we'll come into those. So just let me go through the topics quickly. And remember that you don't have to copy this or write this down because you will anyway get this. Okay, I will share it through Microsoft Teams. So what are the topics? So we will start with a brief introduction to basic conservation equations. Again, I will just reiterate. BTech dual degree students already know most of this. It's just a revision for you, almost like this. Who have taken the CFD elective with me? Slight modifications may be there. Okay. So basic conservation equations means governing equations which can be developed based on conservation of mass, momentum, energy, then other species like other types of mass transfer, chemical species transfer. So we will see that all these equations are of similar pattern, and that is actually a very important realization, because once we see that all of them are of similar pattern, we know that we can use similar numerical techniques to solve them. Okay, and it will help us significantly in our journey of developing CFD models, because all the equations are similar. We can just develop a model for one of them and we can use the same model for other types of equations also. And we will also have a brief look at PDEs, partial differential equations, very briefly, classification. So mainly three types are there: parabolic equations, hyperbolic equations, and elliptic equations. And these are very important in defining physical problems. Okay, So physical problems can be defined based on the first order or second order equations. So in many cases, physical problems are governed by partial differential equations of different forms, such as parabolic equations or elliptical equations or hyperbolic equation. Okay. For example, 1D heat conduction problem, transient conduction problem is a type of parabolic, is governed by a parabolic equation. Similarly, wave propagation is governed by hyperbolic type of equation. Okay. So this classification of partial differential equations and how different is their physical behavior, we will have a brief understanding of this. Then we will go into common methods of discretization. By the way, this syllabus is just based on the syllabus that is given on the website. So for new students, you can go through our curriculum in the institute website for MTech thermal science students, and you will be able to see the formal syllabus for this. It is a slightly modified version of that. Okay. So common methods of discretization, we will understand what is discretization later. Okay. So if you don't understand, it is fine. Some of you might have had the CFD already as a elective in BTech. So then already you know. So most common methods which are used are finite difference and finite volume. In some cases, finite element methods are also used, or it is possible to use, but we will focus on finite difference and finite volume. Okay. And then how to solve or how to do numerical solution of parabolic PD, which is the easiest type. Okay. So we will take an example. So the first example, if you consider any books, the first example that is taken is a 1D heat conduction problem. Okay. And for that we will apply finite difference first. Later we will go into finite volume method, and we will study how to discretize it in 1D, 2D and 3D. We will learn about different concepts such as explicit and implicit methods. Then analysis of different schemes using consistency, stability and convergence. All these terms will become clear to you later on. So after that, once we derive, or once we know how to discretize and develop simple equations based on governing equations using finite difference and finite volume method, we need to solve those equations. Okay. So again, these steps will be clear later on. So for that, there are different techniques. There are direct methods such as tridiagonal matrix algorithm, and then there are some iterative methods. Okay. So you just keep on repeating the steps and reducing the error until you get the correct result. So these methods are such as Gaussian elimination, Gauss-Seidel method. Okay. So these type of methods also we'll learn. What are the necessary and sufficient conditions for convergence? Convergence means when we have achieved the correct result, when to stop the problem. So those things also we will learn, and some other methods like line by line TDMA. So we will dive deeper into finite volume method, which is the most widely used method and most common method for CFD. All the CFD software that you see are mostly developed based on finite volume method. And we'll start with 1D steady state diffusion. We'll learn different concepts such as interface diffusivity calculation, source term linearization, multidimensional problems. Then we'll go into more complex problems. So till now, whatever I have explained is for simple conduction type of problem or diffusion type of problems where there is no flow. So then we will go for flow plus diffusion problems. So both flow and conduction. And there are different schemes: central difference, upwind exponential, hybrid schemes, power law schemes, quick scheme. So we will study all these different schemes. Some concepts such as false diffusion also we will study. Then finally, we'll go into solution of flow field, which is somewhat more complex. We'll study different techniques such as simple, simpler, simplex and piso. And if there is time, we can go through some other techniques also. So up to this is the basic CFD part. Then we'll go into one or two special topics. One is finite volume method for irregular geometries. So up to this point 8, whatever we are going to study is for regular geometry. Regular means like structured, like a rectangle or a square, okay, or a circular geometry, not a haphazard type of geometry or unstructured or non-regular geometry. But in real life problems, you know that in many cases or in most cases we have very erratic or irregular geometries. So we will just see how what is the basics of that, what are structured and unstructured grids, and we'll study about discretization in unstructured grids, and one or two special topics are there in the syllabus, such as phase change problems. So if it's a multi-phase problem, such as a solid liquid or liquid gas problem, how to study those problems. So phase change problems such as solid liquid problems, and interface or free surface tracking problems such as liquid air movement, or say there is an interface between liquid and air or a bubble formation, how to track those. We'll just see brief examples of that. Okay, any questions till this point? One PhD student is also supposed to be there. He's there?
Yes,
Soms, right? What is your name?
Yes.
Soms.
Saumesh Surichandan.
Somesh Sorichandan. Okay. 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 So have you already taken a CFD course during your MTech or?
Entire period I have taken. In MTech, I have
You
taken this subject.
you have taken, huh?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay. So more like a revision for you. Okay. So this is about the syllabus. Books. So anyway, you have to go through the class notes. Then the most widely used book for CFD or most famous book is known as Numerical Heat Transfer and Fluid Flow, which is written by S.B. Patankar. Okay, so we will follow this book closely. Actually, this he was one of the pioneers in developing the CFD techniques, as you will learn later. And there is another very good book which is by Versteeg and Malala-Sekara, Introduction to Computational Fluid Dynamics. So you can also go through this second book, and it has more details. It is written later. This first book is written long time back during 1980s. Second book is written much later, so it has more materials. But we will follow the first book because this is more fundamental and shows you how to approach this topic CFD in a fundamental, in a basic way. Okay. So try to get these books a soft copy or something if you can manage. Okay. At least the first one. Or if you can purchase first book, actually may be somewhat costly. Second one is easily available. So other points. So one important point is evaluation. So the students who have newly joined, MTech first year students, so they don't know, others already know, that we had a typical pattern of evaluation at IIT Bhubaneswar, which is 50% marks for the final exams, 30% marks for the mid-semester exams, and 20% marks for teachers' assessment. Okay, which can depend on either attendance or class tests or some project work. Okay, so I feel that for this online type of course, this is not appropriate. Okay, this 50% marks for final exam, so the exam percentage is too high. exams are not so useful. This is what I felt. I don't know about the other instructors, but so I want to increase the percentage of basically the class performance. Okay, so there are two ways to do it. One is that one anyway all of you will do is there will be a project, okay, CFD project. Again, the students who have taken electives with me already knows this, and they have done some very good projects during their elective CFD course in third year. So again, there will be a project component. So we will form some teams later on once you have a good understanding of CFD, and you have to do some projects and present it at the end. Okay. Second is that I will also give some small programs, okay, programming assignments, and some part of the evaluation may be based on that. Okay, I have not yet decided. So very simple programs just to start off with very simple CFD models, okay, like 1D problems. So that will actually take care of the tutorial part that we have in the course. Now there is one thing that I wanted to discuss. Okay, so how many of you are very familiar with programming? Are all of you very comfortable in programming?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what I was
No,
saying,
sir.
some of you may be good in programming already. Like some of you might have known or learned about C programming or say Python or something like that. But what I was thinking is that I can, like, what we have is 3 hours of lecture every week, right? And 1 hour of tutorial. So that 1 hour of tutorial I can utilize to bring all of you to a very basic level of programming using MATLAB. Okay, so at least MATLAB is very useful. Many of you already know. I am sure the BTech dual degree students, most of them already know MATLAB. But in case any of the students do not know it, it will be very helpful for later on for placement and other things, and it will at least help you in solving the CFD problems assignments that I give. Okay. So my idea is that we have this 4 hours every week, right? So we will, for alternate weeks, say for first week, we will have 4 hours of lecture. For the second week, we will have 2 hours of lecture. So 6 hours of lecture in total in 2 weeks. And the final 2-hour class will be on tutorial. Okay. So every 2 weeks, we have 6 hours of lecture and 1 2-hour tutorial. It is better to have in that way because you can solve somewhat larger problems in 2 hours. So for the first few classes, till you get get to understand about basics of CFD and start doing tutorials, the first few tutorial classes, I will just teach you some part of MATLAB. Okay, it is not part of the course curriculum, but I feel that it will be very important for all of you. Okay, so if you are interested, I can do that. Otherwise, I will just go through the normal CFD material. But I feel that it will be quite useful for you. So, what do you say?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Teach MATLAB.
Sir, we want to learn that.
Okay. So I will just go through. See, MATLAB is actually very easy to learn. Even if I don't teach to you, also the MATLAB help is so good, and so much material is there on MATLAB that you can easily learn. But at least if we go through a structured way, we can go through some of the very basic things, and you will get the confidence of how to start. And MATLAB has been like, you can get free access for MATLAB officially using institute email ID. Okay. I don't know for first year students whether you know or not. I will send a link to all the students who are taking the CFD class. So our here the IT group that controls these things in IIT Bhubaneswar. So they have given some method, outlined some method of how to access MATLAB officially, even from home. So using your official email ID. Okay. So I will send the link. You just go through the process if possible and try to install MATLAB. Okay. Anyway, it will be required for any lot of other things for your other projects and other courses maybe also. And it's a very important and useful tool. Okay. So after the first few weeks, then I will give small assignments, CFD assignments, which you can solve in MATLAB because you have already, by that point, you will already know MATLAB. Or if you are more familiar with C or C++ or Fortran or any other program, you can use those also to solve. Okay. So let us go back to this. And in general, we will have for 2-hour class, we will have a break in between. So we'll have 1 hour of class, 10 minutes break, and then like 50 minutes class, 10 minutes break, and then more 55 minutes to finish the class. Okay. So second is that I need a class representative. So one from the dual degree side and one from the MTech first year side. Okay. So that if there is something that needs to be communicated, I can communicate it through the class representative. Anyway, this is online course, so now I can directly send email to all of you, but sometimes it may be required. So you can decide and discuss and later send me an email about who is the class representative. For MTech first year students, BTech dual degree students, already you are familiar with everything. So who will be the class representative? Dual degree? Who are there? Let me see. Mainak, you are the Mainak or Yashwag or anyone of you? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
So you want to be class representative? Or you can, who will be the class representative from your group?
So it's fine, I can be.
Yes, right? You are
Yes, sir.
yes. Okay, fine. Nothing important, but if something comes up, you can communicate to all the other students. Okay, you can form
Yeah,
a
sure, sir.
WhatsApp group, whatever.
Sure.
Okay. Second year students who are auditing also, I will just let Satyanarayan know. Okay, if something is there, Satyanarayan Panda. So if something is there, like some change in timing, okay, you can communicate to others. First year students, you can let me know later on who will be the class representative for this course. Okay. This time it is not so important because anyway I can send an email to all of you because it's an online mode. So there are some small tips which I have outlined here. So CFD is all about practice. Okay, you cannot just go through the theory to learn CFD. Okay, it is different from the other courses that you have learned. It is so it is not like a biology course or some other course like this. Okay, so here actually unless you solve problems, you will not understand the intricacies of CFD. Okay, it is more like so I give this example every time. Like if you want to learn swimming, you cannot learn swimming just by looking at YouTube videos or just learning the swimming techniques in theory. Okay, unless you swim, you cannot learn swimming. So similarly for CFD, Just by watching YouTube or just going through my class, you cannot learn CFD. Unless you solve problems on your own and face difficulties, you cannot learn CFD. Okay. Practice is very important. At least learn some programming language. Very important, not only for this course, for your jobs, for your any future career. Nowadays, it has become very important to learn any programming language. For physical or mathematical problems, we are still using old languages which are very optimized for those problems, such as C, C++, or Fortran. C and Fortran are widely used for multiple reasons. One is that many of the old codes are already written in these languages, and it is too difficult to change this code. So it is just better to add on, keep on adding to those codes. Okay, and they are also highly optimized for solving large scale problems. Means say you have to do parallel programming. In those cases, they are good. Where or the program problems are more mathematically oriented. Nowadays, MATLAB nowadays means for last 2 decades, MATLAB has also become very popular and widely used in the industries and academia because it is very easy to use, very versatile, and very much say optimized for some type of calculation like matrix algebra. Okay. Some other tips are that whenever you are taking a CFD problem, you will have a physical problem. Okay, so the main challenge is not in solving the problem. So one of the main challenges is to how to take that physical problem which has so much complexity and just evolve it or uh, simplify it into a simple solvable problem. Okay, series of mathematical steps. So that is very important. So you need to develop that understanding, and with practice and with experience, that understanding will come. So how to approach a physical problem and what is the best way to simplify it. Okay, I will give some examples later on, how different approaches can lead to very different solution times and accuracy. Okay. Other important things is focus on the mathematical part also, not only on the how to give value. So many people make this mistake. So they just learn a CFD software and try to use it like a black box. Just give some values, see some results. Okay. So instead of that, focus on the physical problem, mathematical problem that is there, and the associated boundary conditions. We will learn what are boundary conditions later on. Okay. So these are some of the important things that we need to take care of. Okay. Any questions up to this point?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Good.
how
Yes.
is evaluation done? Is it relative grading?
See. So who is asking?
Atul Chodis.
Okay. It is not relative. It is somewhat relative. See, it is not. What I can say is that it is not absolute grading. Means if everyone gets more than 90%, I cannot give EX grade. EX is the highest grade here. Okay. So we have EX, then A, B, C, D, P, and F. F is fail. Okay. So if everyone gets more than 90%, I cannot give EX. But it does not also mean that if the highest marks is 30 and then second highest is say 25, the person who has got 30 out of 100, I will give EX. So it is not fully relative also. It's just a mixture. Okay, it's based on somewhat relative, but and somewhat absolute. Means if everyone gets a very low marks, so it depends on how I feel the students have performed. It means that if everyone has performed very poorly, then the person who has got highest marks may not get EX also. On the other hand, if many of you perform very well, then many of you can get good grades. However, there is restriction from the institute side. So the old students will know. Okay. So say For example, last year CFD course, elective course was there. The students performed very well in the project. That exams anyway they perform well. Online exam, there may be many reasons why they have performed well. I saw some similar answers also. So, but in the project they performed very well. Okay. So I gave very good grades initially. Means lot of EX and A grades. But ultimately the grades got changed. So it is not up to me also entirely. Means there is a grade moderation committee, and once the instructor gives the grades, there is a meeting at the end, and again the committee revisits the grades, and if the number of grades, high grades are too high, or say number of fails are too high, say somebody has failed 30% of students, or somebody have given excellent to 30% students, 20% students, then these are not allowed from the institute side. So the grades are modified and moderated. So in that case, what happens is that unfortunately some of the students who have performed very well, they may not get EX grades or even A grades because it becomes difficult. Okay, so this has happened many times and it is out of my hands. But in general, if you do well, you can get good chance of getting A grade. And if you, excellent is somewhat tough because there is a hard restriction from the institute that we cannot give more than 10% excellent. So means here we have how many students? Around 28, 29 students, I guess. So maximum number of excellence that I can give is 3 for this course. Minimum can be 0, obviously, but maximum is fixed. And A also I cannot give indiscriminately, like maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 is, but otherwise it is fine. So it is a mixture of relative and absolute grading. So that is what I got digressed. So I am thinking that this time the final and the mid-sem marks percentage will be around 60%. Okay, maximum 60% weightage I will give for the final and mid-sem. 30-30 if the institute says that they have to be equally distributed like last year, or if the final weightage is more, then we will accordingly modify. 40% marks will be for project and assignment or class performance. Okay, so I will let you know in the next class how I think is appropriate, but I think around 25% marks will be for the project. Rest of the 15% marks, maybe 5% for attendance and 10% uh, for small assignments or the tutorial problems. Okay. Class test is not possible for this course in this format, in this online format. So you will not gain anything. So we will see. Okay. So most probably tentatively 60%, maximum 60%, minimum 50% on the exams, and rest of it is for project and class performance, means assignments as well as attendance or only assignments. Okay, depending on what I see. If I see that all the assignments look same, means everyone is just copy pasting the same program, then we will see. We'll have to change. So any
For these exams, will they be programming exams?
no, exams are traditional exams, unfortunately. So, but you have raised a good point. Maybe we can take a programming exam for the TA part, tutorial part. Okay, I will think. But there is two traditional exams, mid-sem and final, which are written exams. Okay. So unfortunately for CFD, this means that it is just more like theory type of exams, because there are not many numerical problems that can be given which can be solved using pen and paper. So, but the institute regulation is that it is a normal exam, like you solve in a exam hall. Okay, you get a question and you solve it. And in this case, most probably you will have to upload the answer to or send the answer back. Okay, so you will get a question, theoretical question, and upload the answer. But the point is good. I will reconsider for the TA part. Okay, I want to increase the that class assessment part so that good students do not suffer. Okay. Why these requests are not coming here?
Right, sir.
Manshu is there? No, this is not different Manshu. Huh? So anyway, okay. So I'm not giving a break today. Anyway, or we can get a short break also. What do you want? You want a short break? 5 minutes. Anyway, it's better for my throat, so I will give a short break and we will continue after 5 minutes. Okay. So, Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So we will start the course. Okay. So first year students, you have already done some courses in online mode. Have you started? Because we did not talk much. It is somewhat different experience for me. Generally, first class we have physical classes here every year. So I get to meet all the students and know them. But here it is like somewhat more like a black box for me. So have you already started the classes, other classes, first year students,
Yes, sir.
MTech?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I think many of you or most of you have also taken the gas turbine elective with me, gas turbine and jet propulsion, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir.
so tomorrow we will have that class, 3:30 afternoon. Okay,
Okay.
2:30 p.m. We will have that
Okay,
class.
sir.
That's the three class, and we'll proceed in a similar way. Okay, and I will discuss all the details later on. Any other questions, maybe related to the course or anything else, because you are very new to this institute, you may not know all the rules and regulations, so you can ask me anything. Who is your
Sir,
faculty?
what are the
Who is your faculty advisor? Dr. Shashidhar, is it? Do you know who is your
Yes, sir.
faculty?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you face any problem related anything related to curriculum or means course or any other issue, you should contact him. Okay. In case it is directly related to my course, you can also contact me, or if you need any help, you can obviously approach other faculty also. But Dr. Shashidhar is your point of contact in that case. Anything related to like anything you want to know more. Yes, someone was asking some question.
Yes, sir. Sir, what are the pre-requirement of this course?
There is no pre-requirement, but you should know fluid mechanics and heat transfer, which everyone should have taken in their BTech. Or is there anyone who does not know fluid mechanics? Actually, that is also not required because you will learn the governing equations, but it is easier if you know the fluid mechanics and uh, heat transfer. Because otherwise, what is the point of doing computational heat transfer if you do not know heat transfer at all? But officially there is no pre-requirement of this course and some knowledge of programming. But as I said that I will teach you if you even if you are not at all familiar, at least you will learn MATLAB, the basics of MATLAB in this course. So that is an extra. Otherwise there is no other pre-requirement. Okay. Practice lot of problems. Anything else? First year students or old students, dual degree students? Okay. Good. Keep on checking this MS Teams, our team, which is the CMTFE team, because I may be posting all these materials here. Okay, so you should be able to download from there. In case you are unable, then I will send through email. Otherwise, I will just keep on uploading the materials here. Second point is that I hope this is getting recorded, right? So we will record all the classes. Okay. So in case some of you miss some classes, you can just go through the recording later on. I felt that last year at least, I felt that the recordings are also very helpful if you have the time later on before the exam. You can go through the recordings again, like even if you have done the class, together with the notes that I am going to supply, and it will clarify a lot of things because there are a lot of questions and answers. At least last year, the student group was very good for CFD, and we had lot of good questions and question answers. So this year also I encourage you to ask a lot of questions to all the students. First year students, second year MTech students are also there. So you guys also can ask questions. You have already done the course once with Dr. Rath, but it may be similar also. But even then, if you don't understand anything, you can ask the question. If I am unable or if I don't know the answer, I will try to answer it in the next class. Okay. you can also try to answer the question of your fellow classmate. So we will start with the course. Okay, so we'll start with the course. So can you see the slide in full screen mode, or is it appearing as still as a normal slideshow? Is it in a full screen mode? Because sometimes there is problem with MS Teams.
Yes, sir, it is in full screen.
Okay.
Yes,
good.
sir.
Please ask me questions whenever you have any doubt. But today is just a general introduction. We are not going into any actual topic. So again, so as you know, our course name is Computational Methods in Thermal and Fluid Engineering, which is a more appropriate name for the commonly known course, which is CFD, Computational Fluid Dynamics. Actually, we have both thermal and fluid engineering, and typically the course is always structured. If you see the books, it is structured starting with thermal problems, which are easier to solve, and then adding on fluid problems. And in real life, there are even more complex problems considering turbulence and other things, which will not go into the details of. There are turbulence models, compressible flow models, say how to capture a shock, things like that, which is beyond the scope of our course. So my main idea is that you should have a fundamental and strong fundamental understanding, so that later on you can tackle more complex problems. So instead of just giving you glimpses of complex problems, it is better to just focus on the fundamentals, solve very simple problems, which will act like a building block for more complex problems for your projects later on, for your MTech projects or in your jobs. So most of the jobs, particularly for MTech students, even for dual degree students who are also MTech students, will be in this area for thermal students in the CFD area. Okay. Most companies in India hire for CFD related problems for thermal students. CFD or some thermal heat transfer design problems like 1D calculations, other calculations. Very less companies are there which actually do experimental work, proper experimental work. They may be developing some prototypes and design and doing some prototypes development, but proper experimental R&D is very expensive. Mostly it is done in say you have multinational companies, so in the foreign laboratories it is done, and the computational part is taken care of in Indian labs, like say companies like Rolls-Royce or General Electric. Okay, even for companies such as Tata Steel. Okay, most of the modeling work is done here. Some experimental work also is done here, but it is also done in UK and other places, even for Tata Steel and other companies. And so this is why this course is very important. Okay, and for placement related things, if somebody asks you whether you have done a CFD course, this is the CFD course. So you should say that you have done a CFD course in depth. Okay, and they will ask questions from this. So what is CFD? Okay, again, many of you or most of you may be familiar with this. Okay, but for those of you who do not have any exposure, so I will start from the very basics. Let us take an example. Okay, very simple example: flow through a cylinder. One of the most common or simple problems that we encounter: flow through a cylinder. Okay, we want to find out how the flow evolves through a cylinder. So say there is a pressure difference from one side to the other side, and as a result of which there is flow from the left side to the right side. Okay, and we want to find out, or say on the left side we give a particular flow rate, say given velocity, as you can see here, a velocity profile is given, and we want to find out how this flow velocity distribution changes with time and space. So if it is a steady state problem, it is not dependent on time, so only with space. So say along the length of the tube, how the flow profile looks like. And all of you know who have done this fluid mechanics course know that initially it up to a certain length the flow profile keeps on evolving. So because initially we have given a constant velocity at the inlet, but at the boundaries or at the walls, at the cylinder walls, the velocity has to be 0 because of no slip condition. The velocity profile keeps on changing. So ultimately it becomes more and more like a parabolic profile, and at some point it becomes fully parabolic. Okay. So the point up to this distance, up to this point is known as entry length, and after that it is known as fully developed region. These things are already known in fluid mechanics. So if we want to solve this problem, how can we solve this problem? Okay. So one way is to just take the governing equation for this. Okay. What is the governing equation for this? I can take the Navier-Stokes equation. Navier-Stokes means the flow conservation equations, and simplify those for this particular problem and solve this. Okay. So it is easy to solve for this fully developed region. So I can solve the governing equations for the fully developed region. I can find out what is the velocity profile. Okay. Then I can find out other quantities from the obtained velocity profile, such as shear stress, okay, which depends on the velocity gradient. So this type of approach is known as analytical approach. Okay. You have a governing equation and you are solving it directly using mathematics. Okay, directly you are solving it analytically, and you are obtaining the result in terms of mathematical parameters. Okay, then you replace using numerical values and you get the final results. So this type of calculation is known as analytical calculation, and this is what was done initially before the advent of CFD. Okay. So we used to, or not we, means the scientists used to simplify the problems into very simple problems which are solvable using analytical methods. Okay. What is the other option if the problem becomes too complex? For this case, it's a simple problem, so it can be solved analytically. The other option is that we will perform experiments. Okay, we'll take a tube in this case. So I can take either a transparent tube or some sort of like non-transparent tube also, but I need to have some method of measuring the velocity. So I can put some probes inside, and then we can give the exact conditions. We can give some constant velocity at the inlet and keep the outlet open, and at different points, like at different cross section, I can put some probes to measure the velocity. Okay, and we will see that we will get a similar profile. So what you will get is some discrete points. Okay, so the velocity at this point, at this point, at this point, because you have a finite number of probes that you can use. You cannot use large number of probes because then they will affect the flow pattern itself. But if you use too few number of probes, you cannot capture the actual profile. So if I use just 3 probes, say one probe here, one at the center, one here, you may not know that it looks like a parabolic profile. You may think that it is more like a triangular profile or something like that. So capturing the exact pattern may be difficult. Okay, so you need a finite number of probes, but you cannot keep on increasing because they will interfere with the flow pattern. But it is what was typically done. Okay, so experimental study or empirical study was the most common method, or how things used to be developed since antiquity, means since long back. Then gradually people understood, even before understanding the mathematical model or understanding the physical equations. Then once people started understanding the equations, they tried to solve it using analytical methods. Okay, and only in recent years, say from 1950 onwards, with the advent of computational resources, we have gradually developed methods where these equations can be solved numerically, which I am going to come to later. Okay. So the two fundamental methods are, one is analytical solution, second is experimental method. Okay. So experimental methods are always very appropriate because it captures the actual boundary conditions and actual physical problem, but it is not always possible to use or to do an experiment because it may be very expensive, or it may be very difficult to capture the data. It may be too hazardous, or the scale may be too different. Say you want to do a experiment at nano level, it becomes very difficult, right? What will be your probe for that level? Or your scale itself is very large. Say you want to study the formation of stars, okay, by using CFD. That also can be done. Not using CFD. You just want to study the formation of stars. You cannot do an experimental study there. So you have to either do an observation, that also the time scale is such that it is not sufficient. Time scales are so long, so you have to do a CFD or analytical study. Okay. So it is not always that experimental methods are possible. So then you have to go for analytical solution. Now the main problem is that for analytical solution, for simple problems, it is okay. You can solve the equations. Once the problem becomes more difficult, say you have a 2D problem or a 3D problem, or the physics is more complicated, okay, then you cannot solve it. So it can be two things. Either nobody has been able to solve it till now. It might be solvable, but till now nobody has able to solve it. Or it can be that the problem is not solvable at all. It is proven that you cannot solve it using analytical solution. It is such a complex problem that it has been shown by mathematicians that it cannot be solved by using analytical solution. So either cases can happen, and then you have to resort to some numerical solution. Okay. So this numerical solution of heat transfer and fluid flow problems are what together called as computational fluid dynamics. Okay. Different methods for solving numerically. Numerically means what we mean by numerically solving, it will be clear in a few minutes. But not using analytical solution, not directly solving the equations. Okay. So these are known as CFD problems. So for example, Navier-Stokes equation. Okay. So you know that Navier-Stokes equations are the flow conservation equations. So for simple cases, we can reduce the Navier-Stokes equation to very simple case. For example, for this case, we'll take a lot of assumptions, and many of the terms will vanish from the Navier-Stokes equation. Ultimately, we will be left with a simple set of equations. So for example, this 3D equation, we will find that there is no variation in the z direction, in the like in the flow direction, in the fully developed region. So that all these terms can vanish. Similarly, we will find that there may not be any variation in the theta direction, in the angular direction. Okay, so those terms also may vanish. So what we will be left with is only variation along the radial direction. So once we simplify these equations, it is possible to solve. Okay, but full-scale Navier-Stokes equation is still an open problem. Nobody has been able to solve it analytically, and it is still not known also whether it is possible to solve it analytically or not. It's an open problem. It is one of the famous open problems, and there is a prize of $1 million, I think, if somebody is able to analytically solve the Navier-Stokes equation. It is known as one of the millennium problems. So what is CFD? CFD is numerical solution of the analytical governing equations for any heat transfer and fluid flow problem. Okay. Why is it required? You have already got an idea why is it required. So you can see from here that most real life scenarios involve very complex domains, very complex problems. Okay. For example, this is a Formula 1 car, and we want to study the flow over a Formula 1 car and below the Formula 1 car. Okay. Why do we want to study it? Because one of the very important, or the most important aspect of a Formula 1 car is the aerodynamics. Okay. What is the drag and what is the downforce. Downforce is the opposite of lift. Okay, what is the force towards the ground and what is the drag. So whenever you design a car, you want to reduce the drag so that you can accelerate more with the same power, and you want more downforce. Okay, so that you get more grip from the tires, so that you can even turn at higher speeds. Okay, so Formula One cars have very high downforce, very high downforce as compared to normal road cars. They are designed in such a way, they have very high downforce. They are stuck to the ground at high speeds, high velocities, and so they can turn at a very high velocity. Okay, so if I want to solve this flow over this Formula One car, you see that it's a very difficult problem. So what can we do? We can build a small scale model of this, take it into a wind tunnel. I guess everyone knows what is a wind tunnel. Okay, it's an experimental setup where you place an object prototype and you have flow of air from one side. If it is a air wind tunnel, it can be water wind tunnel also for water experiments. And so you have flow of air, and you then experimentally you visualize the airflow pattern using markers, and you can also capture other aspects like what is the temperature, what is the velocity. Okay, everything for that scale model. Okay, it can be a full scale model, means, but it is very difficult to have a full scale model for a large object like a Formula One car, because the wind tunnel dimension will not be sufficient. So you have to develop a smaller scale model, maybe 1:2, like half scale model or 1/10 scale model, something like that. Wind tunnel experiments or experimental study is very expensive, because say you want to study 10 designs, you have to develop these 10 prototypes, manufacture them and study each of them. Okay, so what is the other method? Analytical solution is not possible for this complex object. So how will you make it into a simple analytical model? It's not possible. I cannot assume that this is a sphere or a rectangle. Okay, so the only other option is that we have to go for numerical solution using CFD. Okay, and that is what is being done by most of the organization nowadays. Similarly, for say other application, aerospace application, aircrafts and rockets, rocket propulsion, both from the point of view of say aerodynamics as well as combustion, which occurs in the gas turbines or rocket engines, both needs to be studied using CFD. Okay, experiments are still done, but by using CFD, we reduce the number of experiments. So instead of having to do 20 experiments, now using CFD, we can locate the 3 best designs and we can perform the experiments for the best 3 designs. Okay, so that we can reduce the cost drastically. Similarly, say cooling of gas turbine blades, material processing. So another aspect is material processing. This is an example of a grain structure in a turbine blade, gas turbine blade, how the microstructure evolves. These also can be modeled using CFD. And these are very complex problems. Heat transfer, flow, then composition changes, everything is there, and you cannot analytically solve this. Experimental studies can be done, but are very expensive. Okay, so CFD is very important. It has become very important nowadays to reduce the cost and increase the efficiency. Means in less time you can get more data as compared to experiments. When analytical solution is possible, still analytical solutions are best, but in most real life scenario, analytical solutions are not possible, right? I
Sir,
cannot assume. Yes.
sir, how can we make sure that these results are correct from CFD?
Good point. So directly you cannot make sure that these results are correct. There are a lot of checks and balances. Okay, when we solve later on, when we go through CFD, we will see that if you are not careful, you can get spurious results. Okay, means for example, this photo that is shown for this Formula One car and the velocity and velocity profile basically that you, or the streamlines that you can see. There is no guarantee that this is correct. This is, I have just taken something from Google. Okay. So you have to calculate different parameters and check there are different checks. Like first is that the solution has to be physically consistent. This we will learn later on anyway. So it should not give physically unrealistic solution. Okay. And this we know from experience what is a physically unrealistic solution. For example, if the temperature is beyond the boundary condition without any source term, so you are getting a temperature which is say minus 10 Kelvin. Obviously, that you can get using numerical method, but that cannot be a correct solution, right? In real life scenario, you cannot get minus 10 Kelvin. So there are different checks and balances, and so we have to check for physical consistency. There is something called convergence also. We have to see that the solutions have converged to a particular solution. There is no guarantee that that particular solution is correct. Again, we have to compare the results. And finally, we have to validate the results. We have to compare our CFD model with a known result. Okay. For example, say you have developed your own CFD code or CFD solver, CFD program for solving this flow over Formula One car. And this is an unknown problem, say. But how will you know that your code is correct? There are many known problems. For example, flow over a cylinder. So, and flow through a cylinder like this previous problem. So you will solve those problems using your code and compare the results with the known results. So flow through a cylinder, you can compare the results whether you are getting exact same results as these or not. Flow over a cylinder, there are known results. With different velocity you get, for very simple cases you just get flow over this cylinder, then you get vortex shading. So whether you are getting similar patterns or not. Okay. So you can compare the results. This is known as validation. Once you are comfortable that your code is correctly giving the known results, then you go for unknown results. Okay. Still there is no guarantee that now the code will give correct results for this unknown problem, because for your known problem it might have given correct result, for the unknown problem it may give unrealistic results. So we need to check whether it is physically consistent or not. It's a very good question, and we will always have to be careful. Otherwise, what I see in many cases, even experienced CFD users, they will randomly use some CFD tool like ANSYS, show some results, some plots, don't think deeply about the results. Ultimately, the results are not correct at all. Some physically unrealistic results they will show, okay, which is not possible at all in real life scenario. So you have to always think about the results once you get the results. Why CFD? We have already gone through it. So instead of experiments, we can simulate the entire experimental thing, entire process numerically. So entire experiment, like say for example, flow over a Formula One car, we can do the same experiment but using a computer. It is more cost effective and less time consuming. There is no guarantee that it will be less time consuming. We are assuming that it is, in most cases it will be less time consuming. There are some CFD problems which take months to run. Okay. Still, experimental setups are even more difficult. So building an experimental setup may take 3-4 years. So building a wind tunnel may take 2-3 years. Proper experimental setup takes 2-3 years to develop. Okay. Second point is that, so this is not the only point. Second is that the physical phenomena itself may be too difficult to be measured using experiments. Okay, this is another important point. Okay, so experiment is not possible at all. Okay, say for example, it's a very large. You want to solve the drag and flow pattern around a aircraft carrier, which is a very large ship. You cannot do a full-scale simulation. Okay, so sorry, full-scale experiment, obviously. So in those cases, it's a very large aircraft. You can do you can build a prototype, small scale prototype and do experiments. But some of the physical phenomena may not scale properly with the size of the aircraft. So in those cases, you need to go for CFD studies because your experiment is not possible at all. Similarly, for micro scale cases, in many cases, experiment may be too difficult to capture. Okay. Second is that the experiment may be too hazardous. You want to study an explosion. Okay. Performing explosions in a controlled environment may be too difficult. Okay. What is happening in a say very high level explosion? Okay, very rapid explosion. So in those cases, you may have to resort to numerical calculation, analytical and CFD calculation. Either you do a simple analytical calculation, you find out what is the maximum temperature based on energy balance, but that will be very inaccurate. So you have to go for CFD calculations. Okay. There may be radiation. Okay. So which is not conducive for experimental study. Some pollution effects may be there, a lot of other things. The physics may be too complex. Again, it is related to this first point. You cannot capture, you cannot do that experiment in a controlled environment, such as say cloud formation, okay, or say lightning strike during cloud formation, okay, planetary boundary layer evolution. Again, as I was giving the example previously, star formation, galaxy formation. It is too complex to be able to capture. The time scales are very different, length scales are very different. It cannot be solved using a controlled experimental environment. Okay, you need CFD. That's why we need CFD. So there are two main things. One is that it is cost effective, and another is that no other way is there. Experiments are not possible. Analytical solutions may be possible for these complex physics problems, but it will give you very say basic results. Okay. So what is the maximum like overall results? Okay, you will not be able to capture the nuances. So you need CFD for those cases. A lot of people actually work on CFD modeling of this type of say atmospheric CFD modeling or astrophysics CFD modeling also. Any questions? I guess it's just introduction, so we may not have too many questions here. What is the basic strategy of CFD? Those of you who have done CFD course already knows this. So the main difference in CFD as compared to analytical solution is that you divide the domain. Domain is the entire volume, entire say control volume or volume for the CFD problem. So it comprises, so for example, for this F1 Formula 1 car, the domain is the Formula 1 car plus the surrounding region. You can ask what is the surrounding region, how much surrounding shall we take. So it is a suitable surrounding region based on the expertise. Like I will have to decide how much surrounding I have to take. So for example, I know that the flow may be influenced downstream up to a length of equal to 50 car length. Okay. So accordingly, I may take a domain which has a distance of 100 car length, 50 in the upstream side, 50 in the downstream side. Similarly, I will decide what is the top and bottom for the Formula 1 car. So it is the actual say object plus the surrounding. So this entire domain is the your computational domain. And the main difference is compared to analytical solution is that you divide it into small subsections. Okay, we will understand this later. This is known as mesh generation. And then you define a mathematical model for that, and the mathematical equations are generally very complex, second order equations in most cases. You develop simple equations from those second order equations for each of the subdomain, which are known as control volumes or grid points. Okay, these simple equations are easy to solve using algebraic calculation. You solve this equation in conjunction with boundary conditions. What are boundary conditions? These are known parameters at the boundary. Okay, for example, for the Formula 1 car, if I take a very large domain, I know that at the boundary the flow velocity is equal to the general atmospheric air velocity at that location at that time. Okay. So I can give that boundary condition. Okay. Then if it is a unsteady problem, if it is steady state problem, we just solve the equation, we get the solution. If it is a transient problem, means the solution changes with time. You want to get the evolution with time, like the Formula One car is running and how the lift and drag are changing with time. If the velocity changes, then you keep on solving, and finally you analyze the results, which is known as post-processing. I will come into this in more depth. Again, you already know, so it's just a revision for you. Many of you have already done the course. So again, to elaborate on this basic strategy, let us take an example. Okay, you have a bottle which needs to be filled. Okay, you have a filling nozzle, and the bottle is filled with a fluid. We want to study this filling problem, how the flow pattern develops inside this. Okay, if I want to solve using analytical solution, I can only calculate basic things like what is the filling rate, but I cannot actually capture what is the velocity evolution inside. Maybe I will be able to capture how fast the surface moves upwards, like the flow surface move upwards. If it is, say I am filling with liquid water, but still any variation in the surface due to the filling pattern, these things I will not be able to capture analytically. So using CFD, I want to capture all these nuances, like if there is any turbulence, if there is any undulations in the surface, how the temperature changes during the filling process, all these things. What is the flow pattern, like the fluid is coming down, whether it is coming towards the side and how it smashes into the bottom accumulated liquid, all these things. Okay. First step is that I want to develop a mathematical model for this physical system. Okay. So for this case, what is the mathematical model? We know that we are going to solve for the flow. So we know that we need the flow conservation equation. So all mathematical models are governed by conservation equation, principles of conservation of mass, momentum, and energy, and any other material. Things are conserved, right? So we know that mass and momentum are conserved. In this length scale, mass is conserved. You can say that like we do ignore here that mass can be converted to energy. Okay, so we are assuming that mass is a separate entity, energy is a separate entity. Mass is separately conserved, energy is separately conserved. Small changes of mass into energy we are ignoring for our normal engineering problems, right? Only for say nuclear problems, other problems, we need to consider conversion of mass to energy. So our problem here can be modified or can be governed by a mathematical model which comprises of continuity equation and Navier-Stokes equation. Okay, flow equations. If you want to solve for the temperature variation, because there may be temperature evolution, right? So maybe the initial temperature of the wall of the bottle is cold and you are pouring hot liquid. So the liquid is getting heated. In that case, you also need to include the energy conservation equation. Now we can simplify the problem. So we have to take appropriate assumption. Okay. So I will think out whether it can be simplified to a 2D problem or is it needs to be a 3D problem. Okay. Not only based on whether we can simplify or not, we have to also think about our computational resources. So maybe the computational resources are limited. I cannot solve it using 3D. Okay, then I will take a section of this, a 2D section along the central line, and try to solve it using 2D. And that also will give us some good idea about the results. Okay, but if our computational resources allow us to solve for a 3D, 3D will give us a more appropriate picture. Similarly, if it is whether it is an incompressible flow or not, what are the limitations for say heat transfer problem, whether radiation effects are important or we can ignore the radiation. So a lot of assumptions can be taken and we simplify the problem. Finally, we develop the appropriate governing equations for this particular problem after the simplifications. Okay. Then we define the properties, thermophysical properties, fluid properties like viscosity, thermal properties, conductivity, specific heat. Okay, all this based on empirical evidence. Okay, or experimental data. You already know the properties, and then you put the properties or you put some variation of the properties. The properties are changing with temperature, so you put some equations for say how the density changes with temperature, like ideal gas law or something like that. Finally, you need to provide something called initial and boundary condition. Okay, initial condition is the initial state of the problem. Initially, this bottle is empty bottle, and we know we have to give the temperature, velocity at all points. So velocity is 0 at all the points. Temperature is some temperature at all the points. Temperature at the top may be different because the flow is just starting to come. This is the initial condition. Boundary condition is the at all the boundaries, at all the surfaces, what are the known values? So velocity is 0 because of no slip condition. Velocity at the inlet is a given velocity. Temperature at the boundary may be known, or it may have to be calculated based on heat transfer or something like that. So these are the boundary conditions. Once you have that, you have to generate the grid. So you divide the domain into small subdomains like this. This is a particular case. You will learn later how to do these things. And for each of these small domains, now you have to generate a set of equations, algebraic equations based on the governing equations. So each of the small domains are also governed by the same governing equations. But you can simplify these equations because these domains are very small. You can simplify this equation to make more simple algebraic equations. Okay. And then you will have for each point, each subdomain, you will have an equation, set of equations, and you can solve all the equations together to get the solution. So system equation solved to get the solution. You can post process. Now you have to post process the result to get the relevant quantities. For example, here I want to know, say what is the say shear stress, okay, at the wall. So I have to calculate from the so I will get the velocity by solving the equations. So from that I have to calculate the velocity gradient at the wall and find out the shear stress. Then similarly I can get what is the heat transfer. If I know the temperature, so temperature gradient, I can find out what is the, based on the temperature gradient I can calculate dt dx and k dt dx and find out the heat transfer. So this is known as post processing. Okay. Analyzing the data here actually after post processing. So you are asking how to know whether the answers are correct. So we have to think about the answers, whether we are getting the correct result or not, whether the result looks physical or not. Okay. So for example, if we are pouring liquid, but your results are showing that flow is going out of this nozzle. Obviously this will not happen, but if it is very inaccurate, this may happen. So in that case, we know that solution is not correct. So we have to change some parameters. Either the assumptions are wrong, or boundary conditions are wrong, or your solution procedure is wrong. We have to debug and we have to solve the problem. Okay. Any questions? So for example, let us take an example. Okay. We want to solve the flow. Say Tyrannosaurus rex is moving and we want to find out the flow pattern over a Tyrannosaurus rex when it is moving, and what is the drag force that it is facing. Okay, and what is the lift coefficient for it. So for that, it's a complex problem, right? So I have to define the geometry domain. I have to discretize this domain into this type of subdomains or grids. Okay, then I have to solve the governing equation, which are the flow equations, Navier-Stokes equation for the domain. Okay. And then I find that, okay, so after post processing, we get that, okay, this is the velocity pattern. These are the velocity vectors. Okay, so I don't have the scale here because I have just taken it from the internet, but the colors show the velocity magnitudes. Okay, so how the velocity is varying at different points along the length. So once you have the velocity pattern, this is the velocity magnitude also, you can see, and the pressure contours. I should have written this. I will write this before sending this to you. Pressure contours. And based on this, I can calculate I can do more calculations. So I can find out what is the drag force, what is the lift force based on the wind velocity. If it is standing still, based on the wind velocity, air density, and other material properties, I can find out that the drag coefficient is 0.11. Okay. So because the shape is streamlined for this dinosaur, it has a very less drag coefficient in this case, which is very interesting. Okay. So similarly, other problems also can be solved. Okay. Okay. So this model and so after we get these solutions, okay, now we have to pause and we have to think again, rethink the results and the model. So again, going back to your question, whether we are getting the correct results or not. So are the physical models appropriate? Whether we have used the correct model? Is the flow turbulent? If it is turbulent, whether the turbulence is very important to consider for us, or whether we can just simplify it assuming that, okay, turbulence effect is very less and we can just take it as a laminar flow problem. Is the flow varying with time? Whether the flow is unsteady, whether we have taken the correct equation. Will compressible effects be important? For this case, obviously it is not important, but for say aerospace application, the velocities are very high, Mach number is very high, and compressible flows are important. Whether 3D effects are needed or can we simplify it to 2D? Have we given correct boundary conditions? So we have to think all this again. What about the computational domain? Whether we have taken the appropriate domain, right? If we do not take the appropriate domain, okay, say for this Formula 1 problem that I have shown you previously, right? I take this domain, what you can see here, you will get a very inaccurate solution. What will happen is that the boundaries are too near to the object, Formula 1 car. So the flow pattern will be very inaccurate after the object. It will not be, the boundary condition will not be appropriate. Okay, if you give a boundary condition which is equal to the atmospheric condition here, in real life it is not the case because the flow is affected to a long distance downstream, right? So in this case you cannot take such a small domain, you have to take a very large domain. Okay, so we have to think whether we get the is the computational domain correct? Are the boundary conditions appropriate for that computational domain? Okay, this itself is a very important aspect and many students ignore this aspect. They just take random boundary conditions without thinking too much. Okay, but boundary condition selection is one of the very important aspect of the problem. Are the boundary values reasonable? So both of them are related to this. Okay, whether our grids are correct. Okay, whether we can use the grid generation, mesh is correct or not. Maybe the grid size is not adequate. Okay, so in this case it looks adequate, but if I take a very large size of the subdomains, okay, we will not be able to resolve the data. Okay, and then we will have very inaccurate results. Okay, so that also we have to think. How will we study that? We have to change the grid again and again and check whether the results are changing with the grid or not. So these are known as grid independent study. So all this will be clear later on. Can we improve the boundary resolution? Again related to the grid independent study. Okay, so these are some important aspects which we have to think and pause about. Other things are that whether the results are physically consistent or not. Like with our understanding of physics, whether the results are coming similar to that or not. Okay, you are giving some heat source to a problem with constant or adiabatic boundary condition, and your numerical solution is showing that your object is cooling with time. It means that something has gone wrong. Okay, your heat source, if your heat source is positive, temperature needs to increase. Okay, so consistent physical condition means that temperature should also increase in your results. Okay, so that has to be satisfied. I think we have run out of time. So we will continue this discussion. We'll continue this discussion in the next class with this introduction, and then we will jump into our from the next class onwards. So next class is on Tuesday. Remember, we have decided 6 to 8 in the evening. Every Tuesday 6 to 8 instead of the morning. I will again send an email to confirm this. Okay. And I am supposed to take attendance. So I am supposed to. So we have been told to download this attendance. Okay. So please be present. Anyway, the classes you will through the question answers you should learn a lot. So I expect that you will be present for the classes, for all the classes, okay, and ask a lot of questions. If there are any other questions from this introduction part, think about it and you can ask in the next class, okay. And all these materials will be shared with you, slides and these notes, everything. Every class there are notes which will be shared. You don't have to get the books, which I have suggested if possible.
Thank you, sir.